Next,
the public awake.
Conservation
We're
Committee.
lively.
We're getting off to a good start.
Conservation. Hi, Jay.
Uh-oh. Here looks like a combative person. We'll get him on the first pass.
Oh, no.
Okay.
It's nice to be here.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I think our presentation is pretty straightforward. Our budget is the same as last year with the exception of a raise for our conservation coordinator that the commission voted to award her in the early summer of this year. Other than that, everything is flat. And she's been with the commission since 2009. She represents the commission to the public. She is the face of the commission to the public. She also represents DES as necessary to our town applicants. And this is the first raise she's had since 2009.
Since when, Jay?
This is the first raise, first increase other than a marginal increase that she's had since 2009.
Nine?
When she started.
Okay, comments, questions?
I have a comment. I can't thank you enough, Jay, and I want to do it publicly, both you and Rayanne, for the time that you spend. And as the selectman representative to the planning board, it's such a comfort to me to see both of you sitting in the audience faithfully at every meeting and giving your input and taking the time to review all the plans and you know, making formal recommendations to the planning board. And I can't say enough. I just thank you tremendously for what you guys do. And Rayanne is outstanding.
She is. I absolutely agree, and thank you for that.
Other questions, comments? I would echo what Mary Louise said, and I've said to a number of people that I think Rayanne does a great job. I think the Conservation Commission, quite frankly, is one of the most effective boards in town. However, I do, and this raise has already been given. It's in the default budget at the same level as the operating budget, but I do have a need to point out that when you do something like this in the middle of a year that is not budgeted, you take the ability away from the voter to approve it. You're essentially, when you give a mid-year budget or a raise like this, you've essentially circumvented the whole process. And I'm curious, were you aware of that when you made that decision? I mean, did you consult with the town manager or
I did speak with the town manager. I did speak with the finance director. Frankly, my issue was that I was incredibly embarrassed by the fact that Rayanne had gone this long without an increase, and I just wanted to rectify that as quickly as possible because I thought it was the appropriate thing to do.
Are you going to, I mean, this is fairly significant, are you going to be able to come in at or below this year's budget, 2013?
I don't see why not.
The only other item you've got is 4330 in operating expenses. A 2449 raise is, you know, depending on what month you did it. When did you say it was?
That was, I believe, in June.
Okay, so that would be about half of that. So you would have to.
Well, she's not being paid while she's on maternity leave. Is that correct?
She is not, but we are hiring a replacement for her.
Oh, okay.
We have to have somebody at that desk.
Right.
And does that person get paid at the higher
Same rate.
So basically, all I'm saying is,
Okay.
given a raise with it potentially not meeting the budget.
Well, I would say that this
And this has got nothing to do with
I'm
the
sorry,
Conservation
I
Commission.
misunderstood your question. You were asking if we would come in at this where we were last year?
No, you've got the Conservation Commission has a budget of 30,803. You've provided a raise over and above what was budgeted. Okay, so the question is so obviously on that particular line, which is one of the only two lines that you have in your budget, you're going to be over budget.
Right.
The question is, are you going to be under in the other line enough to offset it? So that otherwise, what you've done is you've essentially, if you don't, you've essentially said, we're going over our budget, and somebody else has got to make that up. Not that it's huge dollars and it's going to present a problem. I'm having, with these type of things, I have more of a problem in principle than I have a problem with Rayanne or the
Yep.
Conservation Commission or whatever.
Yeah, I
And to be
understand.
honest with you, the Board of Selectmen made one move ourselves this year that is similar when we shifted one of the MIS positions when somebody left from a part-time to a full-time position, and we did that because we felt like we had the potential of a crisis. So it's, and I'm being a little critical, but I'm also feel a need to acknowledge that in one instance we have done the same thing.
I'd say this
I
is a
can't
learning
categorically-
curve for Jay, and it's not something that he would
Yeah.
be doing all the time.
Yeah.
If your operating expenses stay at zero for the remainder of the year, you should make it okay, but it'll be tight.
It'll be tight, and I'll take a look at those remaining expenses for the remainder of the year and see how much we can do to best ensure that we come in at or close to.
And like I said, I'll be honest with you, I'm making this point in principle. I think it should happen as little as possible, not because I'm, anything to do with that. Like I said, I really sincerely meant that about, how I feel about Rayanne. I watch her on the planning board all the time, very
She's
effective.
great. Yeah, and just for future reference, when you're thinking in terms of a raise or whatever potentially, factor it into the coming year's budget.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks very much, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
Nick, can I indulge you and bring something else to your attention?
Depends.
Oh, he's
Is it
been
gonna make
As
working.
long as it's not a half-hour presentation.
Is it going to make,
Thank you,
And this
Jay.
just came to my attention today.
is this going to make your budget go over even more?
Well, it is, I believe, a financial issue.
Oh, really?
We had a conversation with the town manager some time ago about the Conservation Commission taking responsibility for monitoring some properties
Right.
in the town of Hampton. And just today, I got a list of what those properties are. And there's a total of 131 separate parcels, 42 of which are unmapped, 89 of which are mapped,
Wow.
Oh,
total
wow.
of 700, a little over 700 acres.
Bless your
Wow.
heart. Wow. My goodness. Oh, look at that.
I think it's appropriate, since these are, for the most part, conservation lands, for the Conservation Commission on behalf of the town to be monitoring those properties. But I don't see how we can do that without incurring some costs. Because I don't think it's fair to ask anybody who's a volunteer to take on that responsibility. To ask Rayanne to do that would be overextending her, because her hours are already full. So I need to have a conversation with the town manager, with the rest of the Conservation Commission, about how we can best deal with this. It may be something that we'll do via a warrant article this year. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. I don't have an issue with monitoring. I think monitoring is a great idea. I think it's important to the town and something that's been lacking. But we're going to have to figure out a way to do it.
What sort of expense are you talking about, Jay?
I don't know if we're going to have to give somebody a stipend to do this, exactly what's going to be involved.
You're going to have to physically go on the property.
They're going to, on some of them are substantial properties, 10, 15, 20 acres or
16
larger. Some of
acres.
them are partial acres, some of them are in the salt marsh, which are going to involve no more than a drive-by, but technically each one of them should have a report filed.
Yes.
Can you, just for my benefit, guess at a range that you think you might be looking for? Nothing I would hold you to if it, a week from now, after you've done a little more research, turned out to be different. I'll explain why I'm asking that question. If it's a fairly small amount of money, $2,000, $4,000, something like that, if you do it, and this is something that's not a one-year thing, this is an ongoing thing.
It should be.
If you do it as a warrant article, let's say you do a warrant article, that means you've got a warrant article every year.
Yeah.
You follow? So it's one more warrant article. It may get approved in the first year, may not get approved in the second year, and if it's a small enough amount of money, it's not going to probably
Feed it
make
in
the
the
difference
budget.
between whether a budget
Yeah.
passes or not.
Feed it in the
So
budget.
I think just because you don't know exactly where you're at with it tonight doesn't, in my opinion, prevent you from getting something into the 2014 budget. The selectmen have got at least, 3 more meetings now, Mike?
Yes.
We've got at least 3 more meetings, and 3 consecutive Mondays or whatever? And I guess that particularly where you're a commission as opposed to committee. It also doesn't prevent you, I don't think there's any legality with them proposing something like that as an addition to the budget when they're at the budget committee.
Yeah, add a line in the budget.
So just some thoughts
Okay.
for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me ask Jay for one final question. Jay, the proposed conservation land off North Shore Road, the only thing I can identify in this list, you do have a 998-240 woodland. Does that mean Woodland Road? Or have you not included the property on North Shore Road, the potential?
That's not included. To the best of my knowledge, that's not included in this because that just happened last
So
Wednesday.
that will be another addition to the list.
Right.
The list get bigger.
Right.
Okay,
So
this is great, a great
so
tool, thank you.
Well, you can also thank the town manager for putting this together.
You
We
think
thank him every day.
we think we're going to have to go out and probably look at each one to get a flavor for what it is, where it
Yeah.
is, and what conditions, and that's
Yeah.
the
Sure.
goal here, right?
Well,
Looks
absolutely.
like
You have
quite
to-
a few
You have to
properties.
establish a baseline, and I envision what we'll do is just establish a checklist for each property.
Because I walked through some of these in White's Lane up in that direction, and as much as I hate to say, there's a couple places where there's an old car.
Oh, yeah, it's
I
got a
don't know,
dumping
I don't know if it's
ground.
on the
Yeah.
conservation land or not,
Yeah.
but it looks like we may want to put electric fence up there for intruders. Did I say that right? But anyway,
I don't
no,
think you did say that right.
probably couldn't do that. But anyway, I can see where you have quite a job
Yes.
here to look at, all the stuff.
Yeah, yeah, excellent
Okay.
job.
Thank you.
Much, Jay.
Thank you very much.